What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna do my usual 20 challenger runs with my two teams. I'm gonna do 3 parts for this Challenger League saga, and I'm gonna go over some of the rotations I use for my tunes. So I'm always gonna be biased and say that the first match that you play in the day in timeline battle is always the laggiest. So you're most likely to lose rather than win, which maybe it's just speculation, but I've always found that kind of true for some reason. Anyway, apart from the last video, I got a couple of new stats, including the red one that you see on the left corner of the screen. It's a pretty useful stat. So while I'm attacking, it reduces the enemy's cooldown by 15%, or increases the enemy's cooldown. So I can basically hit them and they'll use their primary skills like a little bit later, which is pretty useful if you're attacking. Later on in the video, I'm going to be changing some of the buffs, and I'll showcase that to you. And I actually did pretty well these first 10 runs. I got 10 wins, and my ratio is pretty good right now. I'm at 80%, and it's pretty solid. Granted, my ratio does get a little lower when Sentry is in, and right now he's banned. So there's other various characters that are banned, which is why I'm only using 2 teams when I usually have 5. Yeah, for those wondering, I usually play on manual all the time, and I'm a very, very firm believer of CTP of Authority. I think it's the best PvP CTP in the game by far. However, I do often use a lot of PvE tunes, like Null, for example, and Iron Man, and I think that you should still stick them with a PvE build. Like, especially for Null, for example, like he has energy and he has penetration on 3, so he doesn't really need something like destruction. However, a hybrid, an Iron Man, would do really, really well with something like destruction. So my builds for Thanos and Dorm are Mighty, Authority, and my build with Null is CTP of Energy, and it's also Mighty. In addition, I'm also analyzing some of the aspects of PvP. Like, for example, Silver Surfer has that red meter below his health bar, and Null has it too. So those are characters that are obviously buffed by the list that Netmarble gave. But what's interesting is that red meter, if hit well enough, it actually gives almost like a regen buff, like in terms of like having concentration and things like that. And I think it's a decent buff, but it only applies to characters who aren't really relevant anymore. So that's kind of a shame. They need to make more characters relevant in PvP, because I'm having a lot of fun. I mean, I'm having a lot of fun because I'm using different selections on purpose. You know, I don't like using teams where I know I'm gonna win and all I have to do is press auto and watch them win. You know, and I just don't like the way Netmarble runs their AI operations. And, you know, sometimes the rotation is perfect and they do really well for me, and sometimes the rotation is awful, and I hate that inconsistency. I'd rather just trust myself to play. And you definitely see issues like that in AC, where it's completely AI controlled, and I've noticed that when you take more regions, the AI controls are better, and then when you have less regions and the other teams have more regions, your characters perform worse. I've also noticed that, let's say for example, you lose a character in timeline, the AI is going to be more direct in their attacks, and sometimes they may even cancel some of your skills. Whereas if you have one or two characters over the AI, as in you killed most of their tunes with having 3 tunes left, you're gonna get like extra stats, or the AI is going to react like much differently and much easily. It's kind of odd, and maybe once again I'm just speculating, but just playing for so long, I've just noticed like some of these little things. I put up these teams against a lot of different situations, against most of the meta. So like with this particular team, I can kill Warlock with all 3 characters. I can kill Emma with all 3 characters, even though I'd leave Thanos out of it. And I could kill Thanos with pretty much all 3 characters. I leave them available for any scenario I may need. But for example, like I find that Dormammu is more efficient in taking down Thanos most of the time, not all of the time. Like there, I am so skeptical about that skill cooldown. Thanos having that 6 seconds of time to do his 4th while I have that red buff, I think that's a little bit strange to me. And it makes me think in my head, like, I may lose this game. You know, like, since the odds are a little bit against me. But sometimes I pull through. But sometimes you can just tell if you're going to get an L. Like, it's just hard to say. Like, when Warlock kills Thanos in one shot, even sometimes with Colossus, I think that's ridiculous. But, I mean, I guess people's builds are different. Like there, that was 6 seconds when the cooldown on Thanos is 4 or 7, so I just find that a little weird. Maybe it's because Thanos' attack speed is low for that particular AI. I would say that I'm doing much better in this particular week of Challenger than the last week of Challenger that I had, because the last week of Challenger that I had, the last couple of days, the update came out and the entire game glitched where debuff removal wasn't working. I don't know if some of you remember that. I forgot which update it was, like off the top of my head, but it completely disrupted my whole tactical plan. It disrupted it completely, so I ended up getting into the last few places of Challenger and getting kicked out. But hopefully I'll stay in this week and continue to analyze it, because I really feel that Challenger is very under-analyzed. I think the buffs aren't analyzed enough at all. I think it could kind of change the game a little bit if they were to maybe rework the other leagues below this league, because I think more people deserve to be in this league. I think this league deserves to have 100 people, and you know, obviously the rewards still need to be changed in the previous leagues as well. So Netmarble just released a new update patch today, and Hulk is coming, and he probably has a tier 4. So my guess is that he may be built for PvP. Now, he's still going to be a combat, so that may hinder his performance a little bit, and it may reduce his attack a lot, because universals and blasts are mainly the types that are used in PvP, and the combat would really have to one punch somebody literally to even be relevant in PvP. Like, he would have to not be able to get killed by Spider-Man at all, who's completely meta. Spider-Man is so meta that it's actually crazy. So here you're gonna see that I'm going to switch the green buff here, which gives me a stat below. It says becomes invincible for 1 second when the match begins. I don't really want that stat. I want to heal when my health is at 1%. So now I purchased that level 5 green. It gave my blast types another 15% HP, which is pretty good. And now I have that buff, which is going to give me health before I die, which is pretty good, but it doesn't activate all the time. So I'll showcase that with this team. So now I changed up the team. The builds here are that Doom and Emma have a Mighty Authority and Iron Man has a Mighty Destruction, but without the meter that gives him increased damage to boss types. I feel that that stat is, I think, useless in PvP. Maybe it isn't, maybe I'll test more, but I would prefer the standard attack and defense buff that destruction gives. I actually think this team is really tactical. I love that Emma and Iron Man could attack Warlock in between his third, which is really important because you don't want Warlock to use 2 under any circumstances because it will kill anyone. Yeah, I also just wanted to throw it out there. I love adding music to my videos, and I'm always gonna try and add them whenever I can, whether it's, you know, copyright or not. Like in this particular case, I've been using no copyright sounds, and I found a lot of like great jams, like just by looking at a simple video, and I can just install a lot of them just through MP3, and I can use them without getting the copyright claim. So I really appreciate their work, and I'm often going to use them when I can. So here I get my L. I think I got 2 L's in this run of 10 playthroughs. Here it's because I completely screwed up on Emma's 4 cancel 2 rotation. I mean, when I miss a rotation, the game usually punishes me. So, you know, I tried to save Iron Man there, but I ended up sacrificing Doom, and that wasn't the best idea. So I'm gonna get close, but I'm not gonna win this one. Yeah, I just go all in, even though it's a real simple 4 cancel 2. I'm really questioning that counter reflex. I think it's due to the fact that Mighty Authority mixed with Emma's buff on 3 for defense obviously makes her take like 2 damage for a few seconds. So during that period, you can't cause reflect on the opponent. However, I've seen so many times when Emma's AI still reflects you almost fully, even though she also has both the authority buff and her defense buff and debuff removal running. So I think it's absurd. I think it's kind of glitchy, but it's hard to spot because not many people are using Emma Frost anymore, which I find very puzzling. I think she's a great Warlock killer. I think she's a great Thanos killer. Like, perfect counters to them. Great Sentry killer, except when Sentry has greed, but like even still, that's pretty rare. And there's just so many tunes that are going to be completely underused. Like, I was originally using Shang-Chi, and Shang-Chi is a complete boss. Like, I couldn't believe how good he was, and nobody's really using him. Granted, like, it's a little difficult to use him when there's blast meta everywhere, but he's a great Thanos killer. And I mean, like I said, I really hope that they bring more PvP characters in, but also don't disrupt the balance, because there is a little bit of balance right now. I think that Thanos and Warlock are possible to kill and not too overpowered, but also like a fun enough challenge. So They also added a feature where you get to go into another menu and you get to fight the people that fought you and won against you and reclaim some points. So it gives you some extra free points, and in addition you could practice some more with your tunes, which I think is pretty good. I'll record some of those playthroughs in the next video, which is going to be the third part and probably the last part, unless maybe I stay in Challenger League and maybe I'll do some more parts with some more teams, and I'll give the rotations and builds as well. By the way, if my voice sounds a little bit low, I apologize. I just have I got neighbors and I got some folks sleeping, and it's pretty late. I usually play this game like before I go to sleep. I love Iron Man. I think my next tier 4 is going to be Iron Man, even though it may take me a little bit of time. And I also wanted to tier 3 Iceman as well, and I wanted to test him in PvP, but I don't think he's efficient enough at all. I think his skills are they're not completely full iframes, and they cancel, or they can cancel in the beginning. Like, let's say if Sentry, for example, does a higher priority iframe, Iceman's like 4 and 5, which are his primary skills, just get canceled and he doesn't get any of the buffs. Unlike Emma Frost, who does get the buffs if she gets her skills, like for example, if she gets her skill 4 canceled. But anyway, I'll probably end up testing Iceman with a Rage in PvE, and I still gotta get my card set fixed so I can get Pierce up to at least like 10%. I'm starting to get annoyed by that. I like the challenge of GBR, and I like that you could play with friends. I have no problem not being able to clear it. I'll show you why Doom is such a great Warlock killer and why he's super underrated. So I usually have him die in this moment. It's usually an instant death because most Warlocks have greed. Then I use 1 from distance combined with 3 to get the accumulation. You can cancel 4 into 2, and that's a pretty solid kill there. Unfortunately, now I gotta try and kill Spider-Man with Emma, and that unfortunately fails, but that's alright. I have no problem with that. I think that may have been my second defeat, but I got 8 wins out of 10 in these playthroughs. By the way, big shout out to King Zod 3099. You know who you are. I do appreciate the thumbnail, my friend. Pretty nice work, pretty hilarious. Well, the other ones are pretty hilarious. I do appreciate the support I get from you guys, and I'm glad that I can showcase some of these videos to you in pretty decent quality. And that's probably the end of my rambling. Stick around for the next couple of videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.